Hey, what's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. I'm here with Adam Carlson this week. How are you, sir?
I'm a little confused right now, but we'll talk a lot about that going forward. But yeah, the Vikings are an interesting team, and it's going to be an interesting offseason.
Yeah, we thought last year was going to be interesting for a number of reasons, but this one has completely, doubled in curiosity for me. There's so many questions going forward. Before we get started, this is episode 422 called Detroit Rock Griddy. I had to name the show after Justin Jefferson because he had a monumental day yesterday. The Vikings did pull out a win. They squeaked out a win in Detroit against the Lions, 37-35. And we'll talk about that game to start. And then later on, we can talk about some things that we got some news on today. I think we can kind of skim over the game because it was kind of pointless, but we can hit the highlights. So let's just start there. The Vikings win 37-35. Kirk Cousins had a monster day, probably arguably his best day of the year. And Justin Jefferson now has the NFL record and the Vikings record for most yards by a rookie receiver with 1,400.
It's a big number.
Considering that he didn't get a lot of, I would say, playing time snaps. I know he was available, but he wasn't fully involved in the offense until about week 4. That's crazy. 88 catches on the year, 7 touchdowns. He's going to be a wrecking ball for this team for years to come. And just entering the league, being a professional that good, it's crazy. And I believe Pro Football Focus had him ranked as the second best receiver.
They do, behind Davante Adams, I believe.
Right behind Davante Adams, who's having a monster and career year. So, congratulations to Justin Jefferson. If we're going to go into game balls and donkeys,
it's just an absolute shame, though, that Justin Jefferson will not become the 4th Minnesota Vikings rookie wide receiver to win Offensive Player of the Year. He won't get that Offensive Rookie of the Year award.
He won't.
He won't.
I think there should be strong consideration, but you can't deny that Justin Herbert is playing phenomenally as well. He also broke records in his respective position, beating out Baker Mayfield, who said it just a couple of years ago, for touchdowns. And I'll be honest with you, you do a lot more draft analysis than I do. I pay attention to the big names. We did not think, not one person thought Justin Herbert was going to come through and have this phenomenal season that he had. And I think the Chargers have landed a gem with that pick. But, yeah, it should clearly be between he and Justin Jefferson for Rookie of the Year.
And they haven't done a co-offensive Rookie of the Year award. They've split the MVP, but never a co-Rookie of the Year, I don't believe.
Yeah, I was looking at that the other day. There was a nice graphic on one of these Instagram pages. It showed the MVP for like the last 30 years, and each year it had a picture of the player. I remember when there was a split MVP with, was it Kurt Warner or is it John Elway and the running back? That was the last time that happened. It's been a long time. That would be cool to see them do that there and to give the other positions love, but I'm on board with you. This is a quarterback award, and he's not going to win it, which is a shame.
Yep, 9 wide receivers, I believe, have won the award since it came into existence, which is not great. 0 offensive linemen. So if you're an offensive lineman, you're not getting Offensive Rookie of the Year. That's not happening.
It's bias. It's crap. That sucks. What's up, Thomas? Thanks for commenting, and thanks for joining in, as always, one of our faithfuls here.
It's always interesting to see where people are watching us from. And Thomas Beers used to swing in and check us out on YouTube, and now he's hanging out on Facebook, which is nice. More opportunities to see new faces and familiar faces. Good stuff.
Skull Prod says good win to end the season. Yeah, I was happy that the Vikings won yesterday.
Absolutely.
High-scoring affair, entertaining game. Some questionable stuff again from the referees, but hey, whatever. Herbert did great, but beating Bolden's record is a way bigger feat. That's true, but that's also what I was talking about. He definitely beat Baker Mayfield's touchdown record because I don't know how many touchdowns that kid had in the year, but it was closer to 40 than it wasn't. So that's impressive from a rookie. But they both had great years, and we kind of predicted that's going to go to a quarterback, but phenomenal rookie class stepping up this year. Chase Young is a monster as well.
Absolutely.
It's a good draft class. A lot of good talent that's going to be around for years to come. But let's go and jump into the game balls and donkeys from this game yesterday. I'm pretty sure we know that Kyle West would give his game ball to Mr. Justin Jefferson, and rightfully so. I'm just going to speak on behalf because we didn't ask him yet. But, yeah, Justin Jefferson had a great day yesterday. 9 catches, 12 targets, 133 yards. Just establishing himself as a force to be reckoned with. So I'm sure Kyle would do that. I'm giving my game ball to Kirk Cousins. For the simple fact that Alexander Madison, Chad Beebe, and Amir Abdullah are the ones who caught touchdown passes. I would have not guessed any one of those guys would have caught a touchdown, and all 3 of them did. Kirk was on full display yesterday. He had his little hiccups here and there, but shout out to Kirk for ending the year out. And he had, I think, on the year, 35 touchdowns on the year, which is pretty impressive. So good for him.
I never understand how Amir Abdullah seems to perk up every time they play the Lions.
He's got a chip on his shoulder, man. That former team beef, I guess.
I don't believe a lot in revenge games, but I think there might be something to this one.
Mm-hmm.
I really do think there might be something to this one. I'm going to go with see, the simplest solution here is Justin Jefferson, of course.
Of course.
But let's go with Andrew DePaula.
Wow. Well, that's the first time that guy's ever gotten an award on this show. Let's hear it, though. I'm here for that, and that's kind of why I went ahead and spoke for Kyle, because I know Kyle would give him love. But I always like to see what choice that you have, because it's usually outside the box.
He did a real good job coming in as the long snapper, of course. Beat out for the job and came in and has held it down. I believe he'll be back next year to be able to do the job again. But it was the fact that they were using him not only on special teams in the capacity of a snapper, but that he was going downfield and he was making plays, whether it was trying to get in on tackles, diving on loose footballs. Those are the kind of players you want. You want those dogs on your team, the ones that are out there scrapping, being willing to throw themselves into battle to get a football. And honestly, I have never seen another long snapper put that much effort into going down the field to get a football. I haven't seen it. Most of them will snap, and then they'll kind of like maybe play towards the ball, but not rush into it. But man, Andrew DePaula just rushed right in there, and it was great to see.
Adam brings up a good point, too, because Austin Cutting is probably not going to be with the team next year, if I had to take a guess. And with these this was pretty much an audition game at the end of the year with, the Vikings being out of playoff contention after the Christmas Day loss to the Saints. Getting a lot of names here on the box score that you have probably never heard of before. I know I'm one of them. But yeah, this is a good day. I'm glad that someone else, a long snapper, got a game ball here. That is incredible. Well deserved. I don't know who wants to share this one with me. I'm sure Kyle would probably have a say-so in this too, but Dan Bailey's getting my donkey. That dude's not coming back. He's not going to be on the team next year.
Which is a shame because they locked him down for 3 years, and now it's just looking like a terrible deal after he was bringing a lot of consistency to the position.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder.
For a while, yeah.
Maybe later we'll get, maybe out in Twitter land, he'll come out and say what went wrong exactly. Injuries, mental stuff breaking down. But 1 for 2 on field goals, 4 for 5 extra points. I mean, in a game where you leave 4 points there, it would have been 41-35. You can't keep leaving points on the board. And that's a total here this year. I'll have to look and see how many he's missed. But if he would have been perfect on the year, which is, not hard to say for some kickers, Dan Bailey's left almost a game's worth of points out on the field this year.
And the Vikings have lost 3 games by a field goal or less.
Not good. Just not good, not acceptable. And, it sucks because they don't want to be that guy. Don't want to be that armchair, GM, player, coach, quarterback, whatever. But you got one job, man. And I understand sometimes a long snapper sucks, but I think the Vikings have found a decent long snapper. I know their punter's good. Your holders are all right. I don't know. Regular season this year, Dan Bailey, 15 of 22 on field goals. That's 7. Oof.
Yeah, a lot of kickers are struggling this year, but there's a whole different category for what was going on for Dan Bailey, and I don't know what that is.
So
Another
that's
player that
seven-
struggled all season long.
That's 7 missed field goals. That's 7 times 3 is 21 points. And then extra points attempted 43, 37 made. So 6 plus 21. It's 27 points that guy's left out on the field this year. That's almost a football's game worth. That's crazy, man. Sorry,
really
man.
is.
Sorry. I didn't want to give that to you.
For me, this was another easy one. Jaleel Johnson. I'm a fan. I want to see him do really well, but he's just not good. He's not doing his job in the middle. When you're that big man and your job is to anchor down the field, and you're getting thrown around that easily, I understand the level of competition. I understand that he hadn't really taken a leadership role as far as being a starter till this season, and he wasn't even planning on doing that. But once you get that opportunity, you got to shine. You got to play your absolute best. And he was getting beat off the block, slow to the snap, getting pushed out of plays. It's just, I don't see him doing much because he's a free agent now after the season. He's going into free agency. And what people have on tape on him, he's not going to get a good deal anywhere. He's not.
He's a backup player. We would agree on that, correct?
Well, he was doing what a lot of the Vikings players that were backups or signed off the street are doing, and that's just playing a starting role or playing a contributing role. And Minnesota did their best with what they had, and it wasn't the best. You can build a house out of a lot of things, but that house ain't going to stand unless you can build it out of some solid materials.
You know, and to your point, when you have a game like Kamara did, on Christmas Day, you think, well, maybe it's a fluke. Maybe they just had that day where everything clicks and everything for us doesn't. But this is another game here where Detroit had 129 yards rushing, and they gave up 2 touchdowns. You know, that this team has prided itself, at least as long as I've been a fan and longer, on stopping the run and being a defensive, one impenetrable unit, as they would say in the old 300 movie. This is not it. Sean puts up a great stat here too. If you guys aren't watching live and you listen later on the podcast, our defense gave up 10 more points per game this year than last. 2020 indeed. It's just terrible. And I'm anxious to see once the final stuff comes out what the overall ranking of this defense was. I'm going to guess around 25 or 26 this year.
Well, the pass rush didn't exist.
Nope.
There was not one. And that right there is enough to shut down a lot of teams. But then not only do you have a non-existent pass rush, but you have guys in their first season trying to make plays as cornerbacks, trying to stay with some of these amazingly fast, tall, athletic pass catchers. And it's a daunting task to start with. And the reason Minnesota has so much success is because that pass rush can disrupt the offense and keep the quarterback from throwing, having the time to make these accurate throws that can pick apart defenses. And when your defense is already struggling, it's not a great thing. And I wrote about this over on the Viking Age. Anthony Harris is having I guess I can say past tense now. His 2020 season was not great. And
it's like we're on the
two
same
seasons
page.
were excellent.
It's like we're on the same page. I really wanted to talk about this, and we're gonna address this head on as the offseason starts. But thank you, Thomas. Defense was 29th overall. What he saw this morning, 26th in points allowed. That's terrible. That's awful. Middle of the pack is respectable, but those are awful. To your point, man, it really sucks. We're talking about how the young secondary and the corners are the young corners specifically having a daunting task for guys like Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones Jr. had himself a day yesterday. 8 receptions, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
He tears up Minnesota.
His average is 22.5. This is what Golden Tate used to do to us back in the day when he was alive. I mean, frustrating, man.
When he was alive? Is that what you said?
No, I said back in the day when he was a Lion.
Oh, okay.
No, I
Did
didn't.
I
I
miss
didn't.
something?
No, I didn't. This isn't Levitarcho. I didn't accidentally kill somebody, so we're good.
All right.
Yeah, no, this is terrible, and there's a lot of questions, man, and I think that's the thing that gets me so hopeful. We should talk about the corners that shine. I think Jeff Gladney had his best day as a pro yesterday. He was amazing yesterday. Cameron Dantzler has shown a lot of promise. He was out yesterday. I think the pieces are there to get started and move in the right direction, but it starts with what you were talking about, pass rush. And I'm going to tell you what, this team might look for a corner in the draft, but I'm hearing rumblings that we're in a good spot to land an edge defender out of Miami that fits perfectly for this team. And I think that's what their number one need should be right now. They need a pass
I would be
rush.
absolutely fine with that. I really would be.
This team
The
needs
weird thing is coming into this season, you saw that Holton Hill and Mike Hughes were probably going to be the starters.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be their plan. And with Holton Hill, he ended up being cut by Minnesota, so he's not even on the roster anymore. Then you got Mike Hughes, who I don't know if he's going to play another snap of pro football with the way his neck is. You really got to be careful with those injuries. And so Minnesota will be relying on these young players. I think personally, the best option for them going forward is to keep their young corners that are playing well so far and bring in maybe a experienced veteran that's been bouncing around the league a little bit just to come in and help out in the locker room, kind of teach out some of the fundamentals and the basics. You know, that Terrence Newman type player that they can do.
So Thomas Buges we're talking about the draft already, of course. Quiddy Pay, defensive end from Michigan. I'm down with it. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of talk. This team needs a bunch of stuff filled. You got to look at the offensive line too. It's got to get addressed at some point, but there's a lot of stuff. There's going to be a ton more. We thought last year there was going to be a lot of moving pieces with this team. I think there's going to be even more this year because guys like Kyle Rudolph, they're going to have to either get shipped away or they're going to have to restructure. You hope that Riley Reef can come back. You know, Anthony Harris is probably not going to go because he's going to cost too much for his production value. There's just a ton of questions, but I see promise in this team, and I'm glad that Mike Zimmer's name was not on the chopping block this morning. Now, that's not to say that they aren't still considering it, but I think Mike Zimmer is safe. I think Rick Spielman is safe. This is the news, if you guys haven't heard, that we would like to talk about on the show a little bit. Offensive coordinator Gary Kubiak is planning to retire. It's been on multiple pages. So I think
nothing official yet, but it's something to watch for.
Something to see. It's out there floating around. If this is true, the Vikings will be going on their fifth coordinator in like 6 years. I don't. I mean, what do you?
We're going into Alex Smith territory here for offensive coordinators.
It's terrible, and I feel awful for Kirk Cousins. I do.
The offense was really the bright point of this team this year.
Absolutely,
and that's despite having terrible guard play. Terrible. But we were talking about the pass rush, and I don't know if you've been paying attention to Twitter today, Mr. Smith.
I have not.
But there is a player that's making a bit of a campaign to come to Minnesota in the offseason.
No, I know what you're talking about. I saw this early this morning, and I'm not sure where. I think I saw it on Instagram. Are you talking about a reunion?
I am.
I'll let you finish then. I don't want to steal your thunder.
So it sounds like Everson Griffin is really interested in coming back to Minnesota. And I don't blame him after bouncing around to a couple teams and having little to no success, seeing that Minnesota doesn't really have the pass rushers that they have. You know, this would be something that would benefit both teams if the price is right, and considering the deals that Everson Griffin has been getting lately and what it's taken to sign him to a deal. I think this could be a possibility.
Yeah, I would love to see it. And you hit the nail on the head. It's got to be at the right price. Can't overpay for him. And say, hey, look, I need you to come in. And this is a great segue too. Adam's on fire today, guys. Sitting here as a co-host standpoint and half producer of the show, we're on the same page, and we have not rehearsed any of this because you know what? I think this defense needs a lot of, and didn't have a lot this year, leadership. They need a lot of help there. Eric Kendricks was out for like a quarter of the year. Harrison Smith's a great player. He's not really a go-get-him, over-the-top kind of guy. Just go out and do your job thing. They need an alpha male running that defense to step in and bring some energy like a Ray Lewis used to. And they need that. And you know what? Everson was a very animated guy, and
He absolutely is.
on game day.
Vocal, excited, infectious. That his energy is infectious.
It is. Thomas Bugge talking about the offense. If Kubiak leaves, I'd love to see Anthony Lynn, the Chargers fired head coach. Great offensive mind, but can't do defense. My brother's a Chargers fan.
I may or may not have mentioned this to both Kyles in our group chat before the show, that he would be a sneaky good hire because he has worked with Mike Zimmer before.
I didn't know that.
There is that connection. And it would be pretty cool to get that back together and see something happen. And it's not like the Chargers offense was terrible this year either. We just got done talking about Justin Herbert being the front runner right now for the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. And you've got so many pieces over there that have found success. He would be a great one to bring in. He really would.
That would be good. I'm not sure. I would still, even though this guy was terrible with the Jets, I'd still give Adam Gase a chance because everywhere he's touched as an offensive coordinator has done good things. I'd like to see either one of those just because of name recognition. And Anthony Lynn, despite being a terrible clock manager like Mike Zimmer has, and sometimes I think he's a good mind. And I'm of the belief too that, you know, it's just like in any other job. You may get promoted to manager or whatever it is, and you might not thrive there, but you could be the best specialist at your specific position and just, hey, you know, it didn't work out there, but I can go back. That's the cool thing about the NFL. You can go back and everything kind of recycles. And once you find that all the perfect pieces to fit with your coordinators and your personnel and your coach and GM, magic can happen. So I think that's a good fit, and I hope you're right. Thomas, I hope you're right, but we're very early on the hiring process and all that stuff because we haven't even gotten to the playoffs, which start next weekend. But I like that idea.
Super wild card Sunday or super wild card weekend.
Super.
Got to add the super.
All the toys on this offense to play with. Our offensive coordinator position should be one of the most coveted jobs. I agree. And none of these guys in the skill players there are like super close to their window being done. I think Adam Thielen's probably the closest in age. Jefferson's going to be going into a sophomore year. Kirk Cousins is only 32. Dalvin Cook's right in the middle of his prime. You got a lot. And the tight ends, even though they're not going to be name brand, I think they're probably the Walmart brand compared to some other teams. They're a great little duo, and I'm not talking about Rudolph. I do like Smith and Conklin going forward in their potential roles. So I think that's a great comment as well. Yeah,
I don't think we're going to be here next year either, but that's something to discuss on a little deeper in a later show.
Oh, we will. We'll absolutely dive into that. But I'm glad the Vikings won this game. If they had lost, they would only have went up one spot. So it doesn't really matter. Interesting note, and this is just something to point out. It's not really, we don't have to discuss it, but I found it funny that the Vikings won 10 games last year and went 2-4 in the division, and they went to the playoffs. But they improved to 4-2 in the division this year and missed the playoffs at 7-9. If they could have won 2 more games, they'd be sitting right there at the 4 seed. Isn't that crazy how fucking the football league itself works and how everything just kind of turns around? That's crazy.
I think it's crazy that when Minnesota was sitting in that 7th and last playoff spot, they couldn't win a game for the life of them. And then as soon as they're eliminated from the playoff contention, they win one. That's the most Minnesota thing.
You're right. We subject ourselves to some heartaches being Vikings fans, but you know what? There's still a lot of promise here. And I hate to say this because I don't want to jinx anything. I'm going to knock on wood here, but it can't get much worse defensively than what we saw this year. It was bad, sometimes awful. And even despite that, with a younger core of guys or guys that are maybe not starting caliber talent, they still seem to fight. I think there was only 2 games this year where they looked just super flat everywhere. So I'm not too upset about it. You know, competed with 2 playoff teams that are very good. You beat the number 1 seed in the NFC. So beat the Bears once, who were a playoff team. So there's some bright spots here. But
well, think about it this way: we could have been watching a game like the one that happened on Sunday Night Football with the Eagles there. And nobody wants to watch that.
No. That team confuses me to death. I don't know how they won a Super Bowl 3 years ago. It's weird. They have completely botched everything there, and it's fun to watch because you're not a fan of that team, but you have questions of how. So, you don't have to go over too many stats. Dalvin Cook was out yesterday, so Alexander Madison carried the load rushing, 21 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. He also scored one through the air. Mike Boone stepped in as well. I like this stat here. It's my favorite stat of the day. Minnesota rushes Kirk Cousins 5 attempts for 1 yard. Congratulations, Kirk.
And a touchdown. Don't forget touchdown.
Yeah, we can't take that out. So he actually had 4 total touchdowns on the day. Good for him. Receivers, Justin Jefferson, we already went over his. He was the lone target. And he didn't get started till really the third quarter. So that's awesome for him.
I loved Kirk Cousins apologizing to that Lions defender after he got got flagged for that sack.
I didn't know that he apologized to him. That's funny.
He said, I don't necessarily agree with that. That's what he said to the guy that sacked him.
Hey, you know what? We'll take it. That's funny. Adam Thielen, 4 of 5 for 57 yards. Alexander Madison was the third leading receiver yesterday. All 3 balls his way, 50 yards. Touchdown. Chad Beebe. Man, Chad Beebe, way to be aware, man. You know, when we write this dude off 90% of the time, he comes back and he has 2 major plays this year that make you go, maybe he can stay. Yesterday was one of them, if you guys didn't see it. He only had 44 yards total yesterday, and one of those catches was for 40 and a touchdown. That was crazy. That was a crazy heads-up play right at the end of the half. All you got to do is keep him in bounds, and Detroit found a way to mess that up royally and help the Vikings stay in the game.
Yeah, 2 defenders just collided and left a path wide open. It was a lot like what happened in the Minneapolis Miracle, but
yes,
in a game that had a lot less on the line.
That's so funny. Shout out to Chad Beebe for getting in the end zone again. Harrison Smith led the way with tackles, 9 with a pass defense.
It is not good at all when your top 2 tacklers are your safeties.
Nope.
That's terrible to see. Terrible. And take a look. Where's the first defensive tackle on that list? Is there one?
I see a defensive end. Hercules Mataafa, he counts.
They've been playing him. Yeah, he counts. They've been playing him at the.
He had 1 by himself, 1 sack, a tackle for loss, and a quarterback hit. So he could have been in contention yesterday for a game ball, but he's well past halfway. Ooh.
Those defensive tackles have been just absent.
Ugh.
So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Minnesota look at that as a potential spot to make a top draft pick. But they love Shamar Stephen, and I don't get it. I really don't understand it. He's on here with 1 tackle as well, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't mind these guys staying in a backup rotational role, but these guys can't start again. And I think Mike Zimmer knows that he's going to have to own up to that if he addresses it at all. He's already said this is the worst defense he's ever had, but he's got to realize that they've got to do better in providing talent for him to work with, because he's asking a lot from these guys, and they're just not there yet. Some of these guys are just not there.
Well, next year they're going to be getting their star pass rusher back. Their big nose tackle's finally going to be able to come in that they got on a big deal. You're going to get Kendrick and Barr back, hopefully. I still don't know about that third linebacker because Eric Wilson's going to be pricey, but they've had some other players step up too that could have worked in pretty well. And you can sit here and you can make a lot of excuses, but the defense that was on the field this year was not good whatsoever. But when you look at it on paper for the 2021 season, there's talent all over the place.
Yeah, as a unit, they didn't mesh well, and I think that's why some people are quick to run to say, fire Mike Zimmer. And I've been quick to get on Facebook the last 2 days and say, fire yourself. Don't do that. But the talent individually is there. Now, once they can find some cohesion and work together, it'll be great. I think the safety spot alongside Harrison Smith is going to be available. Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr will be back. Hopefully Eric Wilson. I really like that linebacking group. Danielle Hunter coming back is going to be huge, like you talked about earlier. With a pass rush, it's going to make all the secondary their life a little bit easier, and it's going to give these corners more time to think and not be so reliant.
I'm
really excited.
That's going to be fun.
What's that?
Michael Pierce clogging up the gut's going to be fun.
Just where I was going next. Really excited to see where he's going to be, especially to have a year off to stay healthy and to get his body back and kind of take a year off from getting a beating and doing all that work. I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table. So when you think of all that, really we're looking at, if everything works out the way we want, we're just looking at a safety spot and maybe another defensive end position where we really got to think about upgrades. And then hopefully you can look at upgrading the offensive line because, as you talked about earlier, the guards this year were not the answer.
No.
But
yeah, everybody on Twitter calling for Riley Reef to get cut again, the Vikings to get another offensive tackle. So who knows?
Ugh, let's not. No. I think he was the highest graded lineman this year, wasn't he?
Yep. Yeah,
he had to have been.
He absolutely was. But they want him out, so who knows? It's nice that NFL teams aren't run by popular vote on social media.
Here's a good thing right here. Thomas Bugge says Pierce, and if they let him play, Lynch, those two together. Yeah, I like James Lynch.
What I saw from Lynch out of college.
Big fan.
Very productive.
Big fan. I like how somebody up here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but at Facebook, Logan Letexier says he's got a sad face. So I'm seeing the sad react on Facebook. Sorry, dude. I don't know what we said that was sad, but thanks for getting involved somehow. That's funny.
I didn't know you could see reacts. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we have 6 people watching at the moment, 4 on YouTube, 2 on Facebook, and they have a sad emoji beside it.
Aww.
Sorry. That's the life of being a Vikings fan. That's funny. But yeah, just alluding to the impact here of Justin Jefferson and talking about his year. Like I said earlier, 88 receptions, tied for 15th, 1,400 yards. That's 4th overall. 7th in touchdowns, 22nd in the entire NFL, and average 15.9 a play there. That's 9th in the NFL. This kid is an absolute stud. And this number, even at 1,400, would have been around 15 to 16 had he played the entire year. But, a couple games to get maybe the playbook down, or maybe they just had to get trust in him to go out. But, I mean, this kid is just a stud. And I'm so excited for the future here, because if this is where he's going to be, if this is just kind of an average, I mean, you can't ask for much more, but what if he gets better? That's the question.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We saw Diggs steadily improve as he spent time in Minnesota. When he first arrived in Minnesota, he wasn't all that. You know that he learned a lot from that locker room, especially Adam Thielen.
Yeah, and I got to give him a shout out too, because he has the coolest dance that I've seen in a long time. And by the way, Kirk Cousins doing the Griddy is still the whitest human on planet Earth. It's just as bad as if an offensive lineman was doing it, and it was so entertaining to watch. I love
next time you watch that, watch next to him, and I think it's Brian O'Neill, and it's the weakest Griddy I've ever seen in my life.
I love it so much. I love that they can still have fun and have a good time together, but. Yeah, I'm excited for Justin Jefferson's future. Thank you, Philadelphia, for screwing that pick up.
Man, they're fans. When you kind of rub that in a little bit, if you go on any post, whether it's like NFL.com or on Facebook with NFL or Sunday Night Football or whoever's posting about Justin Jefferson, and you scroll through those comments, the salty Eagles fans about that their draft are hilarious. Like the passive-aggressive tweeting is just amazing.
I think his name's Howie Roseman. I don't know how he has a job after this. Shout out to my buddy Dave at work, huge Eagles fan. He goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go find him in Philadelphia, and I'm going to print out a picture of Justin Jefferson. And I'm like, hey, man, you can sign here at the bottom and clean out your desk. Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. But that's fine. We will take it.
We've talked about that video numerous times. Of Minnesota sitting there when Philadelphia was on the clock. And when they did not take Justin Jefferson, the way that they all lit up and got excited because they knew that they got the guy they wanted without having to move up to get him. Oh, it was a thing of beauty.
You got to love it. And I love that it worked out for him. And I love that it worked out for the team because I think he's going to have a bright, bright future here. And I like his attitude. I think that's the biggest thing. He's got swagger, he's got confidence, but he definitely knows, like, hey, I'm going to put in the time. And I think that's one of my favorite quotes I heard from someone talking to Dalvin Cook. I can't remember who was talking to him. And they said, he's a first-round receiver, and he works like a guy that was undrafted. Like, he's got to earn his spot. And I think that speaks tremendously because Dalvin Cook is the all-star of this team. And if he says that about you, that's pretty high praise. So happy to see it.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson said that his goal this year was to make everyone who passed on him in the NFL draft regret it. I'd say he's done a pretty good job.
I think so. I'm trying to get
All
this.
Right, so before we go in and talk about something else, I want to mention the Survival League because guess what? We're down to 4 players.
Uh-oh.
Week 17 was a rough one. We saw Jesus not make a pick, and that's not the way you want to go out. You don't want to lose by not making a pick in week 17.
Oh,
that's a rough way to go. Meanwhile, my friend, his name's Alvin Cook on here because he has Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook in his fantasy league. So that's what he's going with. He picked the Dallas Cowboys to win, and that didn't happen. So that's a little sad. But the 4 people left in, we've got Logan's 6 picks who have not yet gotten a strike, so they are looking real good.
Wow.
At getting to that Super Bowl to at the very least, participating in the tiebreaker. We've got a year to remember, which is 2 strikes to go with me at 2 strikes, and Craig got his 2nd strike as well. So we got 1 guy with no strikes at all, and 3 with 2 strikes, and the playoffs coming, and these picks are getting more and more powerful as time goes in. Us 3 need to hold on and hope that we can kind of sneak into the Super Bowl type situation to get into a tiebreaker. But right now it looks like Logan might be the favorite to bring home the Minnesota Vikings themed prize package.
Well, good luck. That's awesome. That's crazy you don't have a strike yet.
Call it a little on a roll.
We'll call it a little bit of luck, but there's a lot of precision there and making some smart choices. So shout out to you. Appreciate that, Logan.
Because this year, a lot of the favorites, even big favorites, when it comes to the line on games, a lot of the big favorites lost this year in big key matchups, and it bit a lot of people really hard. So the fact that he was able to make it through with no strikes is amazing to this point. And next year, we may have to knock it down to 2 because I don't know if I want 3 strikes anymore. That seems like a lot.
I certainly love the 3 strikes, especially when I don't make a pick or I pick the freaking Colts to beat the Jaguars week 1 and they don't do it. Assholes. Ugh. All right, so the regular season is over for the Vikings. Oh, you guys can't see my dog is sitting in the bed over here.
Yep, Minnesota Vikings have pick number 14 in the 2021 NFL Draft.
Spoiler alert, they are not going to take a quarterback in the first round. Sorry to bother you, Trevor.
I won't guarantee that.
I don't know if they will, man. I think they love Kirk too much. Maybe not this year. I think going into next year, I think I would pretty much slap a guarantee this year to say they're not going to take one in the first round unless someone falls.
Hey, look, it's Logan.
Oh, what's up, man? A lot of tough decisions. Yeah. It's going to be a weird offseason again. Hopefully, it'll get somewhat back.
He's the Logan from the fantasy league, the Pick'em League. Survival, right. No strikes.
Wow. Okay. Shout out. Yeah, we can bring you back up here again. That's amazing. How does that happen, man? Do you have some secret inside source? Come on. So you guys play the first pick draft game.
I do. I played a lot.
I don't know what that is.
It's a mock draft simulator.
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
There's a lot of different ones out there that you can play with. First pick is a lot of fun, though.
I did on Pro Football Focus. It was a lot of fun.
But I'm going to might be there when it's time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. There's really, I think this is the easiest time ever to go default and say best player available. I mean, you're going to have plenty of good options because a lot of these quarterbacks are going to get taken way higher than they should. So it's going to leave a couple players out there, potentially another Justin Jefferson deal at a different position. But
I think we'll see 4 quarterbacks go in the first round.
Yeah, I think so. Not sure where, but at least 2 or 3 of them are going top 10 for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of question marks there, man. Is Philly really sold on Jalen Hurts? Does Miami love Tua? Would not surprise me if they got a quarterback again. Would not surprise me in the least bit.
No, because I'll be honest, I'm still a supporter too. I'd like to see him do well, but he has not looked good at all. And if you've got a potential of taking a player that you think can succeed or has a much better chance of succeeding, you kind of got to do it.
Absolutely, you do. And can we just say that one before? I'm going to bring up the playoff picture here in a second so everybody can see how everything folded out. The Houston Texans just obliterated their potentials, and now they got all the way up to the 3rd pick, and they don't even get it because of the Laramie Tunsil trade. So Miami gets 10 wins on the season and has the 3rd and the 18th pick in the draft again. Shout out to that front office. That's crazy.
They did very, very well. Oh, we got Jonathan there. He's hoping for a guard.
Yeah, me too, man. I don't know how you justify taking a guard that high, but hey, you know what? If you can talk yourself into it and you know it's going to fit, please make it work.
Well, it's not like the Vikings don't have some picks later on. They might be missing a 2nd rounder, but you can still get a quality interior offensive lineman in round 3 or 4 as long as you do your scouting, do your due diligence, and figure out what you need. So really just kind of hoping out that Minnesota does its due diligence there, because there have been some big whiffs on the offensive line, and they've been investing a lot of money, a lot of picks into trying to fix that offensive line. And so far the results have not been wonderful.
And you know what's crazy to that point? And think about some other teams in the league. Like the Raiders always like to pick the fastest wide receiver, no matter if he's got hands or no separation, whatever. They got to pick speed. And then kind of like with Alabama being like running back university, LSU being DB university, you think each franchise has their thing that they're good at and then the stuff that they're terrible at. And the Vikings just can't seem to nail down super good offensive linemen, and they've been really hard up to find a franchise quarterback, and they haven't drafted one in a very, very long time. So, yeah, it's just funny to see these little quirks that teams have. Thomas says either guard or defensive end. Hoping DA is very limited. That's a good point. Jonathan says if one goes that high, he should be good. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's weird because you think back to the highest guard taken recently was Quentin Nelson for the Colts, and you absolutely would want that guy on your team now. Let's see if you guys can see this when I pull up the preview here. Oh, follow these steps. Okay, I guess that didn't work. If you guys can still see. Cancel that. I was trying to bring up a photo. I guess I'll have to look it up on online, and I'll do that now. I'm going to show you guys the NFL playoff bracket. I love the thing, too. It's from insider.com, and it says the new NFL playoff bracket could lead to chaos. Yep, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, the one bye thing still feels kind of weird, but you know what? After kind of looking at it this year, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Now, if we could get them on board to stop letting division winners in and do it by record. Think about that. The Miami Dolphins have 10 wins, and they are not in the playoffs. But the Bears are 8-8. And who's 7-9 that got the Washington football team? I mean, you have to be a little upset if you're a Dolphins fan looking at that.
Oh, that football team.
Computer not operating. Let's see if we can zoom in, and we'll get this up for you guys on another. I don't know what my favorite matchup's going to be, but I do like the fact that switching this year brings it to more games.
I don't know what you're doing, but it's making your
per
leg
weekend.
real
So
hard
now instead of
end.
4, okay. See if we can get out of that and get this back together. You guys let me know.
Now you're sounding good.
Okay, good. Try to get this
It's a
picture
learning
up here.
experience.
I don't know why this. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Everything's going smooth, so I try to bring up another page. All right, we're going to get this up here on the screen for you guys and try to talk about the playoffs here. But yeah, as Adam was talking about, the 1 seed now is the only team that gets a bye, and the NFC, that's the Green Bay Packers, which is heartbreaking, and the Kansas City AFC. If you're looking at it on paper, that's who should meet in the Super Bowl. But I just have a weird feeling it's going to be something stupid like the Seahawks and the Steelers that make it to it. It just feels like the cap for this year.
You want your bold prediction for this playoff here?
I sure do.
The Packers aren't going to win a playoff game.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
They're not. They lost their best player, which is their left tackle.
Oh, yeah. Bakhtiari is out for the season. ACL, I believe, right?
Absolutely. And yes, I do know that Aaron Rodgers plays for their team, but he's not their best player.
All right, so you guys get the graphic up here. That's crazy. I like that. No thanks, I don't want to see that. So you guys can see here, Green Bay will host the lowest seed. A divisional matchup in the wild card here. The Rams go to Seattle. That's going to be tough because Jared Goff has a thumb injury. The Bears are going to get the doors blown off them by the Saints. I don't think that's going to be close to competitive.
That's not going to be fun. But there is a nice little fun side note about that Saints-Bears game. That game is going to be broadcast on Nickelodeon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kids. They're going to have a kids broadcast.
That's awesome.
Have it appeal to young kids. And even though it's going to be streaming on Amazon Prime and other channels as well, I have to watch this when it streams on Nickelodeon just to see what they do and how wacky they make it.
I love it. I love that they're trying to appeal to younger kids for that too, and that's cool. Get to see some flashy players like Kamara and Michael Thomas. I'll be honest with you. For Wild Card Weekend, I don't care about any more of these games. I am ready to watch Washington. That defensive line there is insanely good, and it's a road game for Tampa Bay. So I am ready to watch the Washington football team beat up on Tom Brady, hopefully. That's pretty awesome.
That Rams-Seahawks game is going to be fun to watch. That's going to be an offensive just explosion. As long as Goff can perform. If Goff can't, then I don't know. And it's not like Goff's been having an amazing season anyway. He hasn't
not at all
potential this year, but that should be a fun one to watch. So when you're looking at the NFC side of things, all 3 games to me are definitely worthy of watching.
Yeah, maybe the Bears will turn around and make it competitive. They have no business winning. I hope they don't, but that's going to be fun. I'm just watching
that one for the Nickelodeon broadcast, to be honest. That's all.
Absolutely.
The game's going to be a blowout. It's going to be humiliating.
And over here on the AFC is stacked. I mean, the Browns are going to play the Steelers. Big Ben will be back. That'll be really good. I think the Colts will give the Bills a little bit of trouble because they have a good, well-balanced team. I don't like Phillip Rivers. I'm a Phillip Rivers hater. And
I've never really been a Phillip Rivers believer either, but that defense is pretty legit and their run game's strong, so I don't know.
I'm rooting for old Stephon Diggs and the Bills. I really like the leap that Josh Allen has taken, and I hope they get a playoff win. And then you get a rematch from last year. The Ravens visit the Titans, and I don't think that's a good matchup for the Ravens at all.
I don't think so either.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Derrick Henry, shout out to Derrick Henry for being a part of the 2000 Rusher Club yesterday, making history, only the 8th player ever to do that. So we spent too much time on this graphic. I'll stop it here, but I just wanted to give you guys the visual there to see what the playoff picture is going to look like now that it's set. The Vikings had 1 week where they were in. I mean, I guess that's cool considering how bad they played. This is a good comment. Here you go. It's good to see the Patriots not in the playoffs.
I can't disagree with that. The change is nice. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Buffalo Bills fan, and the one thing that we really discussed was how if there's 2 teams that really deserve to help each other out, in getting rosters that are absolutely much better than they should be. It is the Buffalo Bills and the Minnesota Vikings. The history that those two teams have, as well as their struggles over the years, the fact that they can put together a trade that was mutually beneficial and seems to be something that's going to help both teams for many years down the road. You don't see that often in the NFL. Most trades end up being lopsided after a year or two.
Yeah, normally the Vikings get fleeced on trades.
I wouldn't say that so much. Rick Spielman's been able to milk a lot of these trades for picks that you don't think he'd be able to get.
Yeah, I see both sides of it. I think overall, I think 60-40, it's positive for Spielman. I'm not on the fire Spielman bandwagon. I'm not really a big fan of some of the things that he's done personally, but then again, for everyone that I don't like, there's something there that he has. Like, he's responsible for drafting Harrison Smith and Justin Jefferson and Eric Kendricks and all the positives that you see there. I think I'm more alluding to like the pass rush this year. I really wanted to see Yannick Ngakoue work out for this team. Obviously that didn't happen. I don't like that.
It's still soul crushing that he ended up leading the Vikings in sacks this year.
It's a stat we didn't want to talk about. Yeah, that's to tell you how bad the pass rush wasn't there, guys. Yannick Ngakoue is the Vikings' leading sack leader, and he wasn't on the team past week 5, 6. Ugh.
Yeah, not good. Not what you want to see at all.
There's a good little stat there. The Bills gave us Antoine Winfield. It's a good
senior,
one.
not junior.
Yeah, God, I wish we had junior.
But I still got my Antoine Winfield jersey back there in the back room. I got it.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that Diggs led the way this year for everything too. In yards, 1,535, and receptions, 127. Good for him, man. I don't have any ill will against that kid.
I don't like the way he did it.
Right.
I wish he had said, "Hey, I'd like to see an offense where I get the ball more," before he signed a big contract to stay in Minnesota, because that was misleading to the fans. And I know I was excited to see him stick around, and then to see him be unhappy after he signed a mega deal. It's like, oh, come on. Meanwhile, Adam Thielen's over there playing on his significantly smaller contract, catching, what was it, 14, 15 touchdowns this year?
Hold on, let's look. I have the receiving leaders right here.
All I know is that guy caught a lot of touchdowns this year.
Adam Thielen had 14 touchdowns and 868 yards. Jesus. Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams are the only ones above him. He caught more touchdown passes than Mike Evans and Travis Kelce and A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot more than Diggs. Almost double what Diggs had in touchdowns. That's cool.
Yeah, Diggs has never had double-digit touchdowns.
Man, that's awesome.
But
well,
yeah,
I think we're close to wrapping this up, man. This is a bittersweet day. I hate that it came so soon, but honestly, this team didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. But overall,
if Minnesota had snuck in at number 7, they'd have been an early exit. Which I know that it's tough to say that because of the any given Sunday. All you got to do is be in it to win it. There's a lot of the cliched sayings that are out there. But Minnesota just doesn't have the talent to match up to a lot of these teams that didn't lose a lot of the players that Minnesota did along the way. I mean, Minnesota was starting players that they'd signed off the street on Sunday, so it's not good.
No, not at all. But we'll keep you posted here. As you guys know, this show has been going on for a long time, and I'm gonna go ahead and book it again, barring scheduling that is going to mess things up. We're going to do another live draft show. That was so much fun last year.
Yeah, we're going to do just like this, I believe, with across all 3 platforms again, you think?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
We'll keep you up to date, too, as we wrap this show up. Adam will keep you up to date on the Survival League. And remember, to the winner, Logan, if you're still watching, you're going to get a free swag bag from us. We're going to throw in all kinds of cool stuff. Do I still have mine over here? I'm going to buy you a Purple People podcast shirt, but I'm also going to throw in this nice Vikings 2000 official team guide that's autographed by Bud Grant here.
Dang.
So I got 2 of those. I actually bought some stuff from his digital garage sale this year, so I got a spare to throw that in there along with a Purple People Pod shirt. I'm not going to tell you what Adam's going to give you because it's really cool, and you just have to wait and see. But it's the benefits of listening to this show. If you do, you get to play, and if you win free stuff.
For sure.
Oh, here you go. Best stat right here. If we keep with the Zimmer mantra, we will be in the playoffs next year. In, out, in, out, in, out. So we'll be in next year. Yeah, that's true.
It really has. Yeah, so what I ask of you is if you do have an account over on Twitch, I do ask that you go over and give us a follow. Maybe share it with some other friends that are Vikings fans, because we're trying to grow over there on Twitch, and organic growth can be so hard without some help from a little bit of an underground movement. So if you could give us a like over there, and maybe tell a friend or two, that'd be cool, because we'd love to bring in some more audience and just really have a really good time talking with everyone across all the platforms. Take advantage of it to the fullest, I'd also like you to check it out. I've got MN Viking Zombie over there. That's me on the Twitch. I play video games over there every once in a while. And I think I'm going to start getting into doing more word games over there. A little bit more interactive play. So if you're into that kind of stuff, check me out. Give me a follow. I'd appreciate that. Otherwise, you can check out my work over on the Viking Age. I'll have what I'm working on right now is grading each of the position groupings on the Minnesota Vikings roster for the 2020 season, as well as I have submitted some takeaways from Sunday's game, as well as the best and worst things to come away from that game. You can see all those over on the Viking Age, along with other great content from the great staff over there. Meanwhile, I made the decision to become a contributor on undeadwalking.com, moving away from an expert role. So although I won't be writing over there nearly as often, you can still find my work over there. You can check it out and click on through. That'd be great. Of course, the Viking Age and Undead Walking are my jobs. That's where I make my money. So if you really want to support me, please head on over to the Viking Age. Find an article written by me, click on through it, and I will appreciate it greatly.
It's really easy, guys. I did it not too long ago. I was doing what we do in 2020 and using the bathroom, playing on my phone a lot longer than I should have been. I saw that you wrote an article. I said, who wrote that? Adam Carlson. So I went in and commented, which is really great. I don't even think you have to log in to discuss anymore. You can just comment because it asks you to type in a name.
Fanside had actually moved on from Discuss, and they use a different method now that I believe is much simpler and much easier. So the best way to support is a share, and if you can't share, throw down a little bit of a comment. And if you can't comment, just click through. Any of those will be fantastic for me, and I appreciate that, because bills are tough this time of year. Living in a snow-covered world with gas heat in the middle of winter can be a little pricey.
Make sure Adam stays warm. That's basically what we're saying.
Keep these cats warm.
If you guys would do us a favor, since I still have a couple of people watching and listening, we appreciate all of you that commented and jumped in. Go on our YouTube page, like the YouTube page, hit that little notification bell. If you watch anything that's sponsored or anything like that on YouTube in the last 3 years, people bombard you with this kind of crap in the beginning. We don't do that. We're not a sponsored show. We like to brag because we've had offers, but we're very picky about that. We like the way that we run the show because we do it on our own terms. So if you would like our Facebook and our YouTube pages, that would greatly help us out. Tell another person about it and share it on yours if you'd like. I'm very, very much an advocate for that. And every show that you listen to, no matter what platform, go and hit us the like, get our numbers up, and just try kind of spread the word, because this page is always growing. It's slow, but it's going to keep growing. And we just want to thank you, and we want to get more of you in here.
And the way we're evolving has been a lot of fun. We've gone a long way from recording Skype calls to having live interactive conversations, and it's been wonderful.
Okay, Jonathan, I'm sorry, I don't want to mess with your name. Mahala, Mayhala, it's tell me how to say it. Type it out for me. It said, my wife wants to know if you got yelled at for being in the bathroom too long. Okay. I'm in a new relationship for the first time in years. And my girlfriend's awesome, but she doesn't live with me. So I did not get yelled at. But Jonathan's wife, you should let him have his decompression time in there. You know, that's the thinking room, as we call it growing up. So let him collect his thoughts. I'm on your side, bro. I got you.
Once again, though, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us and checking us out on social media. Kyle West couldn't be here with us this week, but we'd still love it if you could support him over on Redbubble, Phantasm Digital. He's got some great merchandise over there, whether it's just wall art, you want to make some cool pillows, you want to buy a Purple People podcast shirt to support us, you can do any of those things over there. And honestly, if you want a shower curtain with Hulk Hogan's face on it, he has that. You can do it. It exists.
That's a thing. That's also where we get our Purple People podcast merch, which I will try to start wearing more of on the show. Just found it my suitcase the other day, so it's got some good stuff on there.
For sure. But we'll be back next week. I don't know when we're going to do our end of the season awards show. I know that I want to do that when all three of us are available. And since our regular season is over and the Vikings don't have any more football coming, we might have shows a little bit more spaced out to kind of accommodate for Mr. West's schedule. So we might have some more shows coming in the middle of the week, depending on what his days off are. But we are a podcast that does keep going through the off season. We try to do it every week during the off season. Sometimes it's a couple more days, like sometimes it's 9-10 days in between shows, but we do want to bring you Vikings content on a regular basis. And we just enjoy this as in general, talking football with everyone. So hopefully you guys can come back and hang out. If you can't, 1 week, that's fine. Come back the next week. We'll still be here talking Vikings football. So thanks again and stay classy.